Hello everyone, Lisa Haverly here, Nature Superhero Network. Another quick video for you today. And I thought I would talk about burnout. I had posted in the Facebook group a week or so ago about if burnout resonates with you. And I had quite a few comments, so I thought I would pop on and maybe talk a little bit about burnout and maybe perhaps trying to figure out if that is what you are experiencing in your current workplace, right? And obviously you are in the Facebook group or subscribe to the Nature Superhero Network site because you are working in nature, or you're considering it at least. And oftentimes people make a move, whether it be a context move or a career change, because they are no longer feeling fulfilled in their current role. And sometimes we call that burnout, right? Where we are feeling mentally exhausted, where we are feeling completely depleted. Perhaps we are falling into that trap of I don't care anymore. And so maybe your work quality suffers. You really try to distance yourself from the work. Those are kind of signs and signals that you might be experiencing burnout. And I think when I first started my nature-based business, and as I have stated before, it started as a side gig, and I was working in the public school system. So way back when, was I experiencing burnout? Perhaps a little bit, mostly because I was feeling kind of disillusioned about where we were headed with how we were supporting children and not really taking stock of how they learn, the developmental process. And so all those things really mattered to me. And so I was just feeling really frustrated and wanted to provide a different way to support children. Of course, I've loved nature forever and thought, why not bring those two things together, children and nature and the outdoors? And so long story short, I think I was experiencing some burnout, but it wasn't to the extent where I needed to kind of walk away, if you will. And so sometimes over the course of being in that system for over 20 years, I found myself in those spaces of, wow, this isn't as fun anymore, or it's not really lighting me up like it used to. And sometimes that would call me to action to either provide some education or to reinvent myself in some way, or take a fresher perspective or a different look, maybe go take a course and find different ways to offer support and to really learn as much as I could. Because perhaps, when you are struggling, maybe it's something that you need to learn, and it's not always about what's happening around you, if that makes sense. And so I think, when I would struggle sometimes, it would be where I thought I just needed to learn a little bit more, or perhaps the frustration was because I wasn't sure how to help a child or a student. And so that would call me to action to learn. And then I've also shared that this past summer I resigned. I resigned from my school-based job after working in the same school for 20 plus years. So it was a very big decision for me. And perhaps again, a little bit of burnout. But I think for me I felt like somebody else could do that job, and that I was in some way being called to do something different and to contribute in a different way when serving children, and what that could look like. So I think burnout has been a part of my transitions, my bigger transitions. But for you, as you're sitting there going, well, am I in burnout? Do I need to walk away from this job? I have a lot of fear around that. And so if you absolutely cannot leave where you are right now for whatever circumstances, because sometimes there's life happening around us too that can influence big decisions, okay? I'm not going to deny that sometimes we have to consider our family life, our financial situation as we make decisions. So if you can't walk away, or you feel like you need to be there still, I encourage you to think about kind of really do some reflection on how could I make this better? And can I make this better? And, but on the same token, that if you are feeling like you really need to make a change, that your mental health is really at risk, then I encourage you to figure out what you can do, okay? And maybe that's not today, but what could be your kind of exit plan so that you can take steps at least to, if your dream is to provide opportunities and to do therapy in nature, what can you do today to at least take a step towards that dream, okay? So sometimes, it's kind of this give and take, and we have to really do some reflection on where we're truly at in this thing called burnout. So hopefully that's been helpful to you, that you can try to reinvent yourself, do some learning, kind of really reflect on the burnout, the feelings that you're feeling, and then not to feel bad if you have to stay where you are. That was the other point I wanted to make, that sometimes when we see people leaving and doing their own thing, that we start to feel bad about who we are. And whatever decision you make, whether it's to leave and to jump and to take action right now in the next, near future into nature-based world, or you really have to just kind of sit with where you're at right now, know that either scenario, you need to take action to move closer to your goal. And whether that be right now staying where you are, but also kind of working on a plan about what could I do today to really start the process of moving towards either doing my own thing, maybe as a side gig starting out, because I value nature so much, okay? So hopefully this has been helpful for you in thinking about burnout and decision making. All right, take care everybody. Bye-bye.